Hello, I'm Matthew Halliday. I'm the president of Canada Silver-Cobalt Works. Canada Silver-Cobalt Works is a junior exploration company focused on high-grade silver in Ontario, Canada, as well as battery metals projects across Ontario and Quebec, focused on copper, nickel, cobalt in stable jurisdictions.
Matthew, welcome to London.
Thank you.
When did you get here?
I got here 2 days ago.
So you're just getting, your body is adjusting to London time.
I'm fully London time.
And then you're going to leave. Brilliant.
Yes.
Sucks, right? One-to-one, how's it going? You've had a few meetings yesterday, a few conversations?
Yes, it's going really, really well. It's lots of people, lots of buzz. I'm really happy to see it's back.
It's back. Face-to-face meetings are back. So what are they interested in? Because you kind of got the whole silver thing going on, which did so well last year. Everyone wanted a silver story. Come off a little bit like lots of things. And you've got this battery components. You've kind of got this smorgasbord of various components within the portfolio. So what's the draw?
Well, I think that there's two different types of investors. So the one investor is interested more in our silver story. Mm-hmm. And that is because the silver story is a little more advanced. We have a lot of drilling. We have an environmental baseline study. We're getting ready to go and take a bulk sample. Mm-hmm. So the investors that are looking for certain tick boxes have been there. But at the same time, I think that the other half have been really interested in the nickel, copper, cobalt because it's up and coming. It's part of the battery metal side and the green transformation. So that's getting a lot of traction.
Yeah, well, I imagine it is. But for your shareholders or anyone looking in at the project, it's kind of like, well, what am I looking at? There's a lot going on here, which is not necessarily correlated. So what do you do about that? How do you drive that narrative?
Well, we have a couple of ways of driving that narrative. So one, we actually have a proprietary technology called Re2Ox. Mm-hmm. Re2Ox can produce cobalt sulfate, nickel sulfate, copper sulfate, and that ties the two together because our silver project has cobalt, and we want to become a producer of cobalt sulfate for the EV market. So that ties the two of them together. On the other side, we do plan on having a spin out. And so we want to take the battery metals projects that are strictly battery metals and not precious metals, and we want to put those into a new vehicle, as well as the Re2Ox process, spin that out and provide share in a dividend.
So spin that, put the Re2Ox project in with the battery stuff. Okay, so exactly. One spin out, not two. Okay.
One spin out.
Great. What does that look like? Same management team, different company?
I think that it will be, there might be some overlap in the management team, but to really simplify the story, I think that the management team will be slightly new faces. So there will be some overlap and some brand new.
Right. And the purpose of that is, one, obviously simplify the story, but two, does that give you access to a different type of money without the sort of overhang of what's going on over here or has what's gone on in the past?
Absolutely. Okay. So, I mean, these projects that we have in Quebec, they warrant their own money, they warrant their own agenda. Same with the Re2Ox process. It doesn't get the same traction that it should be getting under the Canada Silver-Cobalt envelope.
Right. Quebec, not a bad jurisdiction either.
Not a bad jurisdiction. It's a very great place to work. High on the list of jurisdictions to be operating.
Right. And so where are you based out of, actually?
I'm actually based right in Halliday, Ontario. It's in the cobalt mining camp, so I can drive down to my core shack in 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Handy.
Yeah, handy. It's great.
I want to stick with the battery metals, though, for a bit, because very topical. Prices, metal prices in battery and the battery space, gone through the roof. I mean, you couldn't have asked for more, right? Equities, not correlated with that. Equities are under a lot of pressure over the last couple of months. Well, you could argue a little bit longer. What's going on there? Why aren't the juniors getting the love and attention given what metal prices are doing?
That is a very difficult question. I'm not entirely sure what the disconnect is there. You'd think that they would be correlated stronger. I think that maybe the investor themselves are holding tight. There's a lot of, it's not just the battery metals. I mean, the precious metal space is the same. The crypto space is something on its own. But I do I didn't actually want to make any predictions, but I think that after the crypto space kind of hollows out a bit, we're going to see a return to gold and silver. So hopefully you will see a lot on the equity side as well.
Yeah, a lot of angry people in the crypto space at the moment. Not quite sure what happened.
I'm not in the crypto space, so you can see I have a lovely smile.
It's true. It's true. So again, just on the battery side of things, you've got to have, if you're going to do the spin out, one, do you think the timing is right given the market conditions? Are you in a rush to do that, or is it an end of the year? Is it a next year thing? First of all.
Well, we have time, so we can time it at appropriately. But we do have money.
Right.
We had a financing in, I believe, April.
Yeah.
And so we are set for all of our exploration plans for the near term. But we are gearing towards this spin out for the next 6 months. Hopefully, it'll happen within that time frame. Okay. But if it doesn't, then we are a little flexible there.
Okay, so you also had the flow through money come in December as well. So you're really good for money. Timing, I guess you need to be agile. You'll react to whatever market conditions allow you to do, right? Okay, fine. So again, sticking with this, what's the plan? It's all well and good saying, hey, we got battery metals, right? You've got loads of different commodities under your portfolio at the moment, but again, it comes back to that. You need a plan. So what's the plan in terms of the spin out? What are you trying to be? Because you've got to, at some point, start to demonstrate, scale opportunity to the market as well. So what's that look like at the moment?
Well, we have 14 properties, and one of them is an excellent property of merit. So right now we are focused on continuing to develop that particular property and make a technical report on that property and to illustrate that it has additional potential to continue exploration. Mm-hmm. It's not just a fly-by-night property. And within the same portfolio, now we're starting to get boots on the ground and show that it's not going to be just a one-trick pony, but this larger package.
You're referring to which property, by the way?
So we have the Graal property, right, which we have been drilling. We've done some geophysics multiple times now, actually. And we're back on the ground at Graal. And we have another property.
What are you doing there? So
we're drilling at Graal right now.
Right. So how many meters or how many dollars are you allocating to that?
It's a small program for now, a couple thousand meters, okay, just to continue to evaluate the targets that we got from the recent geophysics. Mm-hmm. So we now know where it's deepening, thickening at depth. And where we have stronger signal at depth, it's to the west of where we've been drilling previously last year. Right. And so we're following up on those strong geophysical targets. But we also have another property, Lac Edouard. And in Lac Edouard has been kind of a nice hot spot where Rio Tinto optioned the ground next to us. Yeah. Brunswick Mine also has the ground south of us, and we have this large Bouguer anomaly where we're kind of in the heart. So we feel we have some of the best land in this area where the three of us are, and so that's really exciting as well. So
what are you after that again? Because we mentioned there's so many commodities.
Same thing. It's going to be a nickel, copper, cobalt type of VMS style deposit, right? With if we're lucky, the platinum and palladium kicks that we've been getting at the Graal, right?
I mean, it does sound like commodity bingo. You're calling out all the right names, saying all the right words.
Well, they come together in those styles of deposits. So
right, okay. And so, well, what are the corollaries around there? What can we look to and say, that's the potential of what you're talking about?
Well, I mean, there's big camps like the Brunswick camp, and you have things like Voisey's Bay or whatnot. I'm not sure about scale and size yet, but we're looking at finding something large and something that we can continue to develop for a long time.
Okay, so again, coming back to that kind of what was the plan question, which is, there's a story. I've been speaking with Frank Basser for I think three years, and various versions of this story, not just on the technology side, but in terms of what's coming back from the drill bit. And it's what do you 35 million market cap, is about right?
That's about right.
About right. Okay, and I know it's a tough market. No one's done well in the last quarter, okay? But you now have to show the market that things are moving ahead, that you are delivering results. So what do you think that you need to get into the market? You've got some money, so what's the data that you're going to put in the market that people can judge you by?
Oh, well, I'm a geologist, so people who know me. And for me as a geologist, it is, mines are found at the end of a drill bit. Yeah. And that's what I want to show, is that, we have drilling in the ground and we're pulling out massive sulfide. And I want to show that not only have we, we've been spinning a story on the Graal for quite a few months now. And, we've had some pretty interesting intercepts and some pretty interesting lengths. Yeah. And I want to show that we know the direction we're going. It's going to get wider, and it's going to get higher grade. Okay. And I want to deliver those results as timely as I can. But
the company has been quite good at whacking out fantastic headlines with super high grades, like abnormally high grades. You'd agree with that. Nothing wrong with that. But it's like, well, so what? What do you do next? How do you move this thing forward? How do people say, well, this is a company of substance, going about things the right way, and I can sort of see what they're doing at each of the properties that they've got? Is it literally just drilling? Is it as simple as that?
Well, it's not as simple as that. I mean, the company has a pretty large strategic vision. I mean, Canada's Silver-Cobalt itself, we're vertically integrated. We have the retail.
What does that mean to you? Tell me what that means to you.
We have a mini mill. Yeah. So for a small exploration
Remind people the capacity.
So we have this mini mill in the town of Cobalt. It produces about 12 to 20 tons per hour. It's a ball mill, cone crusher. And we have a bullion furnace in the basement that can pour rough doré bars. So by the time we're ready to pull out bulk sample, we already have a facility to be able to process a bulk sample.
Is that working, operating, and it's driving revenue right now?
It's not driving revenue right now.
Okay.
We do have intentions of being able to operate the facility as a third-party type of place, and potentially have some revenue coming through. It wouldn't be, we're not competing with a global player or anything like that. But I mean, it could be something that could hold its own.
Is it kind of like a pilot facility?
Yes.
Somewhere between lab and pilot, right? So something like that, right?
So it's a small analytical laboratory with a small mill,
right,
that has limited capacity, and a bullion furnace in the basement.
So it's the ability to wipe its nose but demonstrate what you've got.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
And so, when it comes down to being able to take silver out and process it, we're ready now. And not only that, but, we want to become the centralized player in the cobalt mining camp. So, using that facility as a centralized milling hub, as we onboard different projects or even have different partnerships, that facility becomes kind of a hub and spoke type system.
Okay, so that's the first bit of the integrated bit. What else is integrated and include within your portfolio? And
then so we have the Re2Ox process.
Right.
So the Re2Ox process has been demonstrated to be able to produce cobalt sulfate on spec for, we met with Sumitomo Metals in 2018. We produced 200 grams of material for them, 22.6% cobalt sulfate, meeting all the impurities in like the spec sheet to what they want. And so, we do need to continue to develop that into a pilot plant and be able to produce as much product as we need to give out to the market to be able to secure these new contracts.
Right. Again, remind me the model there, because I've now talked about it a lot with Frank previously, but how do you monetize that? Do you control that? Do you license it out? I mean, how does it work?
I think that the answer is yes.
Right.
I think the answer is yes to both of those questions. I think that, we can control that, particularly in the North American corridor. Okay. I think, as we would like to continue to grow, we would want to build a full production facility in the future, and be able to produce cobalt, nickel, copper, sulfate, particularly for that North American EV market. Also potentially rubidium salt for sodium ion batteries. However, internationally, I think that there is an excellent opportunity to license this technology. The technology is something that has the great ability to remove deleterious elements such as arsenic. And I think there's a lot of need and demand for that around the world, particularly as countries want to clean up their act. They don't want to have smelting of arsenic product. So a hydrometallurgical process that can remove it, stabilize it, is
so okay. So your hydromet process, what's it doing that isn't being done elsewhere? We get the problem you're solving, but what are you competing? What are you up against?
Yeah. I don't know if we're up against much. I'm not sure how many people are doing this particular hydrometallurgical process. Where we can never compete, I know where we can't compete. We can't compete with the big smelters.
Right.
So the big smelters can process a lot of ores, and they do a lot of blending. And that's not something that we intend on taking on. We're much too small.
Okay. What else is in the package? Some of this integrated component that you talk about.
Well, I mean, the Rituox and the mill are the two main parts of the vertical side, and then the rest of it is the property portfolio. And so we have definitely a strong portfolio in the silver cobalt camp, and we have a strong portfolio in the Quebec side with the battery metals.
Right, which looking for spin out sometimes by the end of this year.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's go silver cobalt. Obviously, cobalt doing extremely well at the moment. Lots of conversations, OEMs, battery manufacturers, looking to secure cobalt supplies for their EV side of things. How do you go from where you are today, given that you're going to spin out the battery side of things? How do you deal with the kind of cobalt opportunity as a small company? Because I imagine OEMs aren't like banging down your door and going, right, talk to us. We need everything you've got. Yet, what do you need to do to put yourself in a position to have those conversations?
Well, I think there's a couple of things to do. One is getting ourselves in the right places and meeting the right people, which could be involving conferences. It could just be involving cold calling and just getting in front of people. And two, potentially strategic partnership. I've been around for 20 years and I know other companies that are a lot larger that may be able to come in and help us out.
Okay, that's interesting. Because of the cobalt component or because of silver? I mean, silver prevalent, cobalt
the
a little bit
cobalt
more
component.
exotic.
The silver is a lot easier.
Yeah,
the silver in the cobalt camp, it's made of silver, and you can find a buyer for a silver bar. That's not an issue.
Right. So, and what's your expectation of a strategic partner there? Given because it's kind of slightly exotic in the sense that there aren't that many ex-DRC cobalt producers. There's a demand for it, and sure, it can be partially designed out, but there's still, the supply demand gap is huge. So, what was your expectation of a strategic partner? What are we talking about? Battery manufacturer? Are you talking about someone technical? I mean, who are you chasing?
I'm not really chasing anybody right now.
Okay.
But I was thinking somewhere in the middle, maybe a large mining company,
right.
Or somebody that has a trading component already in their portfolio.
Okay, so large mining company or trading, they're going to want that scale component.
Yeah.
Like I say, you've been talking about high grades, great, but you need a lot of it. So again, money-wise, you don't seem to find a bit too hard to raise capital. Maybe you're making it look easy. Maybe it is hard. I don't know.
It's very hard.
Right.
Do we make it look easy? I
think so, because most times I kind of get to talk to your company. You've just come off the back of a raise. You've raised enough money to kind of keep things on the road, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. You're saying there's a lot of pedaling underwater furiously, but you can get the money you want. But that's because I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're able to whack out these very high grade headline numbers, right? So you get at that bit of the narrative. The bit, I guess, I would look for, and maybe you're going to need to start demonstrating as you move forward, is how do you move this forward as a substantive business? You know, how do you take these various properties and put it cohesively into a plan which says we can build this into something meaningful, something large. So you've got some money now. So why don't you lay out the next 12 months for me?
All right. So the next 12 months is some very pivotal times for Canada Silver Cobalt. So one of the things that we're doing is at the Castle Silver, we are in an environmental baseline study. And what we want to do is do a ramp at the Castle Silver. And we want to ramp down and access our Robinson zone or the Robinson vein and take a large bulk sample. And that would basically allow us to move into a cash flow position. So the steps that we need to take is in the next 12 months is continuing the environmental baseline study and starting and continuing. Well, we've started, but each one has its own start. We need permits. So we need not very many. I think we need 4 or 5 permits. They're all provincial permits to Ontario. And so that's a lot of work, a lot of legwork behind these permits. It's a lot of back and forth. And you know how the governments are. They like to make their comments. And so that is really the vision is getting the castle up and getting the ramp down there. And when we get into a cash flow positive position, then we will be accelerating the re-2-ox process or accelerating the next deposit. And, you know, in the meantime, this year, you know, we're continuing to work on the Graal. We're continuing to move forward that spin out. And I'm continuing to explore in the cobalt region to be able to have multiple deposits coming on board.
Okay. So, that sounds good. More money to be raised. So you can have money for the current plan, drill program. When's that? How long does that run for? When do we expect results from that?
Well, the labs are notorious right now in North America. So we can expect results. I'd say we can actually expect results coming out in the next 2 months. But I could be wrong on that. Maybe safely we can say 3 months. Because it's just starting up now, basically. You know, we can definitely have news coming out about how we are moving along through the permitting process as we move along.
Okay, and so you'll burn through this money by when, do you think?
Potentially by the end of year.
Right, okay. So there'll be a raise later. Who knows what the markets will be doing at that point, but I guess you'll make the call as to the timing of that, off the back what the markets are doing and maybe what the results are showing you. Okay, so there you go. You're kind of laying out progress. I mean, because you must feel the same way. You must feel that, right? This company's been at it, and its various guys, been whatever previous names it was called previously, for a while now. You need to, for your shareholders, say we're there. We know what we're doing. There's a plan. We've got the money to deliver this. It's going to be fine. And by the way, we'll reward you with the spin out of the battery metals properties as well. You think that's going to be enough to satisfy them?
I hope so. You know, again, we're really building towards trying to basically, like, in my mind, I want to control the cobalt mining camp. And I think these are the first steps to getting to that. And so I hope that the shareholders will be happy with the first steps in a much larger plan.
Thanks for coming in. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I like that. That's what they want, a big idea, isn't it?